What's going on YouTube? My name is Mr. Crippled and today I'm going to be bringing you my quick Guan Yu guide. Now before we get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you have to keep up with any future content, I will be leaving a link to my Twitch and my Discord in the description below. Now, there's a few things that we really do have to cover with Guan Yu. He is very different, while also still being kind of the same to his Smite 1 counterpart. He's still very much attack speed based, not attack, ability based. He still will they changed his passive and how his passive works. So his 3, his 2, his 1, and his ultimate no longer get you bonuses from his passive. And again, I'll go over what it does here in a moment. And he now has the benefit of building attack speed, but not really building like a hunter. And I'll go over what that means here in a second. So let's go ahead and go over everything one by one. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the passive. Gain stacks of fervor when dealing or taking damage. This is the passive effect. You don't really need to worry about maintaining this as you're, like it says, as you're attacking, as you're dealing damage, and as you're getting hit. This thing will, that little bar above your character icon will fill up. Once it's filled up all the way, let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. Once that's filled up all the way, you'll get this little red aura, and what this red aura means is that you gain attack speed, right? And as this passive is up, it will slowly drain. However, let me go ahead and rebuild it here. Okay, you see it's rapidly draining, but as long as you keep hitting somebody else, the bar will stay full. So you never really need to worry about maintaining this. All you need to do is just make sure that you're hitting the enemy or taking some kind of damage, and this will constantly stay up. So you're basically going to have permanent attack speed, right? The next ability I want to go over is his 1, which is his heal. Now, there's something you need to understand about the heal. The heal is not really meant to be for healing. I know that sounds crazy, because at max level, it does do, what, 215 healing, plus it does reduce Guan Yu's cooldowns and your allies' cooldowns. Here's the thing. You really only want to use it for that cooldown reduction. The heal is kind of just like a last-minute save. You're not really going to be a dedicated healer until the aspect comes out here in 2 weeks, right? And the other thing you need to know is that it does still scale up with how much intelligence you have. So you can build intelligence to kind of make this heal do more, but you're going to be wasting your time until the aspect comes out. So keep that in mind. Plus, whenever you use the heal, right, it has to hit an ally for you to get the reduced cooldowns. You have to hit an ally. You can't just heal yourself. So let me go ahead and show that. So let me go ahead and spawn a Godbot. And then 16 my settings. Okay, so as you can see, right, it doesn't reduce the cooldowns, but if I do it on an ally, it reduces it by 2 seconds, which is nuts. So keep that in mind. The other thing that we need to talk about now is his second ability, which is his 2. His 2 is a slow. It's a massive slow 2. Arguably his hardest hitting ability, because the 3 does do more damage overall, especially if you're going to be building attack speed, which more than likely you're going to have an attack speed card here or there. But the reason why this ability is so important is because not only does this do damage, it also slows, and it still reduces your cooldowns. And I believe it's about by 2 seconds, about the same amount. So if you use it, yep, 2 seconds. So you can see that you want to be cycling between your 2 and your 1 after your 3, right? Especially since your 3, which I'm going to go ahead and go over now, shreds protections. And it shreds a lot of protections. Like, it's not a small amount, and it does a pretty hefty amount of damage, even at level 3. So, what you want to be doing with this ability is that you want to be casting this as often as possible. This is your 3 is going to be your main damaging source and your main poking tool. As you can see, it does have a deceptively long range. And the more attack speed you have, the more times this ability will tick. So you'll essentially shred more protection with this ability, or at the very least do more damage with it, right? And then finally, I want to go ahead and talk about the ultimate. Now, the ultimate is a good get-out-of-jail-free card. It's a good engaging ultimate. It's a good mobility ultimate. It basically has it all. And what it does is you hop on horseback, you attack As you press R2, you're going to be doing swipes. The more attack speed you have, the more swipes you get before you do one final swipe, which is a stun. And it's a massive stun, too. It's around him, so you don't have to really worry too much about aiming it. Just keep in mind that the turn radius on this ultimate is very, very small. Well, it's not that small, so you're not going to be able to just, like, circle around one person. It's mostly going to be used to close the gap, and then when you get close to him, maybe turn a bit and then cancel it. That's basically all you're going to be doing. If you're going to turn with it, trying to hit an enemy god, you're only going to be using it to kind of reposition at the last second. That's it. And again, the ultimate is kind of the same as the 3, where you'll get more swipes the more attack speed you have. So, keep that in mind. Now I want to go over builds, right? And so far, you know, people have been using him in the jungle, people have been using him in solo, and occasionally, every once in a while, you see him in support. I'm going to give you a solo build and a jungle build. The first one I want to go over is the jungle build. Now, you do have two options. If you want your 3 and your ultimate to get as many swipes as possible, there's nothing wrong with going Bumba Spear, right? Especially since you'll still get the ability to, your basic attacks are going to do more, is going to do AoE damage to jungle creep, so you can clear faster. It's completely up to you. Bumba's Cudgel is going to be good if you want to do auto-cancels, but auto-canceling with this character, even though you're still going to be doing it a lot, is not really going to benefit you since you're going to be in this most of the time, right? So unless you're willing to do something like this, which is going to significantly reduce the amount of damage you do, I wouldn't really recommend Bumba's Hammer, but it's still a viable option. So most cases, you're probably going to be able to Bumba's Spear. Now, from here, it gets a little weird. Because even though attack speed directly affects how many times your 3 and your ultimate hit, it's only affected by the attack speed boost. So you're not really going to get a lot of passive benefits. For example, using Bracer the Abyss or using Bragi's Harp is not really going to give you benefit, because even though you're going to have a lot of attack speed, you're not going to be throwing a lot of autos. You're going to be throwing this 3 out. So, to complement this, there's 2 items that I recommend building. You don't have to build these items, but one of them I recommend highly, which is Dagger of Frenzy and Odysseus Bow. Odysseus Bow is simply because it gives you a whopping 45% attack speed, which is going to highly boost the amount of times your 3 and your ultimate hit for, right? Dagger of Frenzy is something that I recommend because of the passive it gets. Now, as you know, the next 6 autos you throw out is going to have increased attack speed, and every time you throw an auto, it's going to consume a stack. While this is active, you are going to gain 50% attack speed for the next 6 basic attacks. Why is that important? Well, if you activate this and then pop your 3 will still be affected by the amount of attack speed you gain from Dagger of Frenzy without actually consuming the stacks. So Dagger of Frenzy is going to be a staple item for you, simply because it will make your abilities hit harder, which is going to be a little bit weird, but I do recommend building Dagger of Frenzy somewhere in your build. At this point, you can get one more attack speed card. I don't really recommend a lot of these, right? Because the passives on these items are not really going to benefit your passive too much, unless you just want to be attack speed Guan, which again is completely up to you, but it's not really going to benefit you if you want to try to play him a little bit ability based. So the only other attack speed item that I recommend at this point is probably Odysseus Bow or Bloodforge. Probably more than likely, actually no, I forgot Bloodforge doesn't give attack speed anymore. Ignore that. So really just Odysseus Bow. After this, you kind of want to build ability based. After Dagger of Frenzy, I would still recommend building Erendite. Erendite is still very, very strong right now. You know, cooldowns, power, makes your next ability deal bonus damage. Like, you're going to get a lot just from having Erendite on, so I highly recommend this card. You are going to need pen in this build since, you know, now there's not really any pen items. I would recommend going Titan's Bane somewhere in your build. If you need to get it early, I recommend it, but Titan's Bane is extremely expensive right now with only 45 strength, and there's not really any pen items outside of that. So, you can either go Executioner, right, or you can go Titan's Bane. Executioner is still kind of nice because you still get a big amount of strength, and you do still get attack speed from this. You're just not going to really get a lot of benefit from the passive, but you will be auto-canceling, so Executioner is probably another attack speed item that I do recommend. I forgot, new patch, new stuff. So, Executioner. After this, if you want to, I would recommend even going Pendulum Blade so you can reduce your ability cooldowns. You know, cycle through your abilities faster. You know, you pop your 3, you pop your 2, you pop your 1, and then you pop this, and then all of a sudden now your cooldowns are reduced even further so you can keep spamming this 3. But keep in mind, I'm not really a big of a believer in building 3 actives, so you could build this item, but I would sacrifice either Erendite or Dagger of Frenzy for this item, completely up to you. So, after this, Crusher is going to be crazy on this character. So, I highly recommend building Crusher. Cooldowns, make sure abilities do extra damage and do more tick damage, which is crazy. Titan's Bane is going to be a must at some point in the build, because without it, you're not going to do any damage to tanks. And then normally, I would recommend Heartseeker, but Heartseeker is okay. It doesn't really give the pen anymore, but it does give a good amount of strength. Heartseeker is really only good when, to me, it's really only good when paired with Transcendence. So take that information as you will. But again, the last card I would also recommend building is a Brawler's Ruin. Anti-heal is just going to be it's just way too important. But this is something I would run if I was being the jungle. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I would run if I was in solo. Okay, so now we're going to go over a solo build. Now, your starter is completely dependent on what you want. If you want really, really aggressive clear, Bluestone Pendant is the way to go every single time. Every single time you want to build Bluestone Breach. That is the best option you can go. The other option, the more beneficial option, is going to be Sundering Axe. Now, while you may not do as much damage with Sundering Axe, this will make you extremely tanky. And they're going to take true damage from your protection. Since you're going to have a lot in this build, you're probably going to want to get Warrior's Axe. Okay, so me personally, I like Warrior's Axe. I've been messing around with Warrior's Axe a lot because Bluestone Pendant is nice for the damage, but with how much sustain is a big factor in solo, you're not going to see too much benefit from Bluestone other than having a bigger power spike. But at the same time, Warrior's Axe still does give you strength and protections, so pick your poison. Me personally, I like going Sundering Axe. Up next, the first card that I like to build is completely dependent if you just want the pure damage or if you want the damage or if you want the tankiness. Now, keep in mind, the old school meta builds, Shield Splitter, you know, Mystic Mail, into Glorious Predwin, into, where is it? Into Ruinous Ankh, into maybe like, I don't know, Glad Shield, and then Oni Hunters. This build still works. Do not think this build does not work. This build is the build I'm going to be giving you is going to be completely pertaining to what I like to run on him. So, first card, because I like building for that passive, I like getting Berserker Shield. And then after that, Dagger of Frenzy first, then Berserker Shield. After this point, you're just going to be building a lot of tank items, so keep that in mind. The Dagger of Frenzy is literally just there to help your 3 and your ultimate hit a little bit harder. So, after I build this, I like to go Oni Hunter's Garb, or I like to go Pharaoh's Curse. Either of these cards work next. You just need to make sure that whoever you're fighting into is what you build for. So if there's a magical person, Oni Hunter's Garb is probably going to be better. If it's physical, you can get away with a Pharaoh's Curse, or you can either double down and go a Glad Shield. Glad Shield is still very strong, but pick your poison. Me personally, I like going Pharaoh's Curse. And then the next card I go is Glorious Predwin. At this point, you'll have a nice amount of attack speed. You'll have some cooldowns. And then now, you need a damaging item, which is going to be in the form of Void Shield. If you don't know, Void Shield got a massive buff where the closer you are to a person, the more protections they have shredded, but the farther away from them as you are, the protection shred is cut. But since you are a melee character whose whole point is to guide the enemy team, this card is going to be a must. So, build this card. And then finally, your last card can be an Oni Hunter's Garb just to get the extra damage mitigations, and for you to get at least some kind of magical defense. And so at this point, you'll have 209 physical defense, 181 magical, and enough attack speed and enough power to basically shred through anybody. again, as you can see, I have 3 actives. I don't recommend this. These are just cards that I recommend going. If you just want to have 2, I recommend going Glorious Preedwind and Dagger of Frenzy and replacing Pharaoh's Curse with a Shogun. This will give you more attack speed overall passively, and you'll still get more magical defense, but you'll sacrifice a lot of physical defense. So pick your poison. If you don't want the Shoguns, right, and instead you just want something more powerful or you need more physical defense, Glad Shield is still there. Your abilities will do more damage based on the amount of protections you have. Or you can go Mystic Mail. Mystic Mail also saw a similar change to Void Shield, where the closer you are, the more damage it does. So even though you're not going to have as many protections with this setup, you'll have more damage overall. And as you can see, the damage is beautiful. You pop this. So either way, however you want to build them for a tank is completely up to you. I just recommend building Berserker Shield somewhere in this build because the Berserker Shield is going to give you protections and damage mitigations while also giving you 25% attack speed and inadvertently making you hit harder. But let me know what you guys think about this guide video. If you want me to do any other videos for this character, just please let me know. Thank y'all for watching, and y'all take care.